Hey, I don't know what the volume is going to be like, but I'm just going to talk anyway. You may need to use headphones. So it's the early hours of the 11th of December 2018, and it's just past the 38th anniversary of the assassination of John Lennon. Now, I think it's timely to talk about um, some of the rhetoric around that you particularly see on videos about the subject. Um, and I'm talking about hardcore John Lennon fans. Now, let me make a few disclaimers. Number one, I don't want anyone to think I'm some sort of apologist for the senseless murder of an unarmed man. That was, it was cold blooded murder. It was totally wrong, zero justification. And Mark Chapman is a murderer, and he's rightly serving hard time. I have no sympathy with Mark Chapman. I think he was a nut, and, he's rightly serving hard time. But I often wonder if Lennon hadn't been killed, would his legacy be the same? Indeed, this is a question that is valid for any martyred figures. One thing I would point out about John Lennon fans is the utter lack of objective thinking. And this is something I've noticed with idol worship of any kind. Now, a video like this is never going to be popular because it's uncomfortable. Um, and people will get the idea, oh, this guy's some sort of hater, he's jealous of Lennon's fame or something like that. Well, I understand why Lennon's famous. He was a great musician. He was. I mean, his music runs circles around a lot of the stuff today. I like a lot of his music. Imagine is a great, great song. So is Woman. So is some of his other tracks. I mean, he is one of the dominant musicians of the 20th century. There's no question about it. And I've always found him an interesting figure. But I get a little bit tired of the nonsense that John Lennon fans come out with. I mean, it's pure idol worship. Um, and anyone who dares to question it is immediately branded a hater. But let's just look at some of the facts here. John Lennon was a hypocrite, and this is why. He preached that, women's rights were the dominant human rights issue of the day. And yet, this is a guy who, you know, repeatedly beat his girlfriends before Yoko Ono. That's a fact. He never denied it. It's something that is on the record. Um, and that's just sheer hypocrisy. Now, if it's a case that he kind of learned from his mistakes and he was saying, don't do what I done, that might be admirable. But, John Lennon was the master virtue signaler of, at that time, second wave feminism. And I think that's sheer hypocrisy to lecture other men while he himself treated women badly. I mean, he cheated on Yoko Ono, so this guy was not exactly a role model for treating women well. He was a lousy father, you know. Like a lot of rock stars, he got so consumed by his fame and everything that came with that frankly he just wasn't a great son. That is the testimony that I don't know if it was Sean or Julian, but one of the sons certainly said that. It's not surprising, and that by no means is this unique. I mean, there's a lot of famous men, particularly in show business, who the whole world sees them as great guys, but then they actually abandon their family life. Um, Now, that's something, again, a disclaimer here. We all have imperfections. John Lennon himself said, we are all Hitler and we're all Gandhi, or we're all Hitler and we're all Jesus. He was right about that. But the thing is, his fans treat him like he is perfect, and he wasn't. He absolutely wasn't. Far from it. I mean, it's more the fans I take issue with than the man himself. Um, what else he preached pacifism? He's famous for it. The bedding and all the rest of it. He railed against American policies in Indochina, which a lot of people did at the time. That wasn't unusual for a musician in the 70s, well, let's say the late 60s to early 80s, hardly unusual. But John Lennon was completely silent when it came to communist atrocities. He was silent when it came to the massive human rights abuses in communist states, and that's typical of the left. And he is very much a left wing figure. Um, rightly or wrongly, that is very much where his political ideology leans. So when you really analyze all of this, it's a bit like there's other figures. Muhammad Ali is a good example, and there's others that people absolutely worship, and it pisses me off because no human being is perfect. And to those idiots who think this is about, oh, you're jealous of his fame, well, nonsense, nonsense. Because if it was a case that I was trying to say, oh, John Lennon, you know, was that if it was a case that I was jealous, then I would be trying to present myself as perfect. Well, I'm not perfect. I've got many faults, but I don't preach to the world in the way that Lennon did and make out that I'm not saying that he never admitted his faults, but he certainly had an arrogant streak. There's no question about that. He was notoriously difficult to work with. People blame Yoko Ono for breaking up the Beatles. I think the man himself had a good part to do with it. Um, Basically, I'm just tired of the idolatry around this guy. I mean, I like Lennon's music. I'm not going to lie. I've got one or two John Lennon CDs, but so clearly I'm not here. And Mark Chapman, was a murderer. There's no question about it. But can we just drop this John Lennon was beyond reproach nonsense? And can we drop? I mean, when you look at any, okay, I guess you sort of get it with the Mark Chapman videos, because that's the guy that killed him. But you even get it in other things. I mean, John Lennon just wasn't all that in terms of being a great man. He wasn't. He was a very successful musician who preached a lot of hypocrisy. That's how I see John Lennon. He was a great musician, but he was a hypocrite. And he was a very smart hypocrite. He knew how to, he was a great orator. But let's just start to look at some of the facts about John Lennon instead of this. I mean, look, I get it. I know how superfans operate. They're incapable of any sort of critical thinking. Anyone who diverts from their way of thinking is a hater. I don't hate John Lennon. I don't much like the public personality that I know about. And this is the thing, right, with famous people. Um, what they are known for, they are known for. So people might say, "Oh, you don't know, you didn't know him." I have news for you. Neither did you. Neither did you. And that's what these super fans, um, need to get into their heads. They think they knew the man personally. They knew the famous John Lennon. That's it. And I don't know what sort of responses are going to be to this video, but that's how I see it. Just my opinion. All I would say is if you're a Lennon fan and you want to spew out nonsense on my channel, then prepare to be challenged. Okay? And final few words. No, I'm not a hater. I don't hate John Lennon. I enjoy his music. I think he was a very talented man. And I'm not saying he was evil. I'm not saying that for a second. But he was not the saint that his fans make him out to be. Or if that's the wrong choice of words, he was not the idol that his fans make him out to be. He just wasn't. Okay, in their eyes, he was. And without doubt, he was one of the most influential cultural figures, probably of the 20th century. But like so many, I mean, it's the same with Muhammad Ali. In boxing circles and beyond, Muhammad Ali is seen as the black Superman. He's seen as beyond reproach. Again, a lot of paradoxes about his life. But that's for another video. Just tell it like it is.